Powerful Sophia, tender loving Sia, so mysterious and full of life. She fights alone, showing no fear. Her good will remain steadfast and right. Powerful Sophia, tender loving Sia, so mysterious and full of life. She fights alone, showing no fear. Her good will remain steadfast and right.
Hello, my friends of Cosmic Agency. My name is Gosha, and finally, I'm so happy to start this series about Yazhi, but especially about how Yazhi was managing her first years, her first months after she arrived, and how the reactions were in the beginning there towards Yazhi. This is going to be several videos. I'm not sure how many, perhaps 4, 3 for sure, I think 4 as well. So we will see. All this started as anecdotes. When I was doing the anecdotes for the Interstellar Live series, I was finding a lot of anecdotes, a lot of conversations regarding Yazhi. And none of this was ever published or shared. We didn't even go much into this aspect of their life and their relationship with Yazhi and Yazhi's relationship with them. We were just sharing, the knowledge that she was sharing with us and passing along. But we didn't go much or at all into how well received was she on the ship when she arrived in Toleka in 2000, I think it was in the end of 2019. And also how she felt, because there was a lot of commotion with regards to that. And this happened just when Swaruu was starting to feel really weak physically. And towards the end of 2019, that's when Yazhi arrived. And they started to mingle, intertwine their consciousness, so to speak. Or at least that's how it was presented, that's how it was understood. They were kind of becoming one at that point. One in a way of, like Susies, when they are close together, they kind of interchange information or ideas. They all belong to that one chain, one line of Svaru's soul journey, even though each of them is each individual person. But that's exactly what the Taygetans on the ship, they didn't know exactly what it was and how they were supposed to treat this. So Yazhi arrived in 2019. There is a video on my channel, I will put the link, where her arrival is described more exactly. So I'm not going to go into that right now, but she was around 7-8 years old at that time, even though the matters of her age, that's something different, because she has this capacity of appearing different or making her age look different than what it is, but generally the consensus is she was around 7-8 when she arrived. She was freshly here without her mother, getting to know everybody, and she was already discovering at that very young age that she had a lot of very, very, very powerful abilities, something that actually her friends on the ship, Taygetans, were not used to seeing, because even though those abilities, of course, we all have the potential, all Lyrians have the potential to develop them, it is not very, 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 very common in a Taygetan society. So they started to feel a little bit intimidated by her and not knowing how to treat her and what to make of it. And when Yazhi arrived, I have to make this context for the conversations that you will see, so you will understand a little bit more. And when Yazhi first arrived, she was very free. She was very free to display and demonstrate and play with her own abilities and show them to the crew members, which actually didn't meet with such great reaction by the Taygetans, because, like I said, it was very intense for them and they didn't know how to deal with this. Many of them were pretty intimidated, even afraid of Yazhi, not understanding how to, what to make of this creature that just arrived and is revolutionizing everything with her behavior and her thoughts and ideas. So you will see some of this here, some of these reactions. Some of these conversations will be Aneeka speaking, but she is speaking in the name of many others, because some of these conversations were like during councils. It's what they call councils, when the group of us meet, and usually it was Alenym, shara, Aneeka, sometimes someone else. Robert and myself, and we would just speak about these different issues and how to solve things, etc. So quite a few councils were organized around the topic of Yazhi and how to treat this. So here in the first conversations you will see Aneeka speaking. I edited other parts where we are speaking because that wasn't very much relevant, just focusing what she said and how she was reacting to discovering all these Yazhi's abilities. As you will see, she was pretty uneasy. And actually, I must say I was very surprised, I will say this a bit later too, with their reactions. Because they were very uncomfortable, especially in the beginning. Some of them, not all of them. And I found it fascinating what Yazhi could do and how she was explaining things. So I found it a bit strange that they were so afraid of that in a way. But I'm not going to say more now as not to spoil what's coming. Just one more word. Here you will see Aneeka in the beginning is saying, okay, we are bringing you here, guys, to tell you finally what's happening, because we are not going to be able to hide this anymore. Because that's what was happening in the beginning. In the beginning, they were not sharing very much about Yazhi. They were trying to keep it normal. They were trying to make it look like everything is normal according to how they understand normality. Because this communication with them is already stretching a lot of, many times, credibility. It's hard to believe some of the things. So that's what they think, or that's what they thought sometimes. For us, it wasn't that hard to believe. So they thought if they come and on top of that share now that there is this person that arrived and she can cross walls, well, that's going to stretch their credibility even more. So for a very long time, or quite some time, they didn't share that with us or even with the public. And here Aneeka is sharing that for the first time and showing her uneasiness. So enjoy this part, and I'm going to see you soon here within the video.
Council meeting 2020. Present Alenym, shara, Aneeka, Robert, and myself. Speaking Aneeka.
We bring you here today because we can no longer be hiding what is going on here, just to continue with an apparent sense of normality on our part. We're under a lot of pressure of all kinds, I mean psychological mainly. To give you an idea, the ship is now in high Earth orbit, close to 700,000 kilometers from there. This communication is made possible by muon technology. The Earth looks from here, when we see it, about the size of a large marble in the distance. We do not use the moon as a shield, because we cannot get too close to the Andromedan biosphere ship. So we are in free orbit at 750,000 kilometers. It's just eternal darkness here, like floating in a hole, just stars in the distance in all directions. The sun looks like a point of white light. So for us, the only thing that exists is the ship, our world. At 2,000 meters long, it is not a lot of useful space inside, so it feels very small. To the point, strange things have been happening here. Some of them you know about. We have no rational explanation for them. They just happen and are centralized in Yazhi, as you would expect. For example, we saw on CCTV that the largest tree in the central green zone was moving a lot near the top. Several of us ran to see what was happening, as the girl had probably climbed up again. But the more I ran, the longer the corridor became. Endless, an eternity to get to that door. I only realized this later, as it happens to many people here with what they experience. And no, the girl was not climbing. She was playing quietly in her bedroom. A week later, Yazhi had been in her sight for days on end. She had not been left alone for 5 days, and suddenly, Anassini points out that the tree has a red ribbon at the top. In other words, the girl did climb it. The ship gets defective all over, like any other ship, and it needs to be maintained, except that for the last month, the damages have been fixing themselves, or almost all of them, without explanation. The food cabinets, which are not cabinets but entire rooms, some of them refrigerated, are not being emptied. The boxes of food are moved when we go for them, but it's only as time goes on that we realize that it's not running out. The amount of food is not going down, and the food cannot be replicated. For example, she was on the bridge and then in engineering less than 3 seconds apart. And the distance bridge to engineering is almost 8 kilometers, 980 meters in a straight line. But it's not a straight line. You must go through long corridors, down staircases, go through countless doors. This was evidenced with CCT image caption. Bridge and engineering, 2.75 seconds apart. Looks like she teleports. Nishada clocked her at 350 kilometers per hour in a passageway, and Raguel said she felt a shockwave in a corridor, and it must be Yazhi. And there's even more. What she's doing exceeds her understanding. Gee, I'm even scared of telling you what she apparently can do. She can go through 3-inch thick hull-grade polymorphic titanium metal as if it was not even there. She's fragmenting time with thought alone. She appears younger or older at will. She eats as much as one of her big men, and she sleeps a lot, like 16 hours a day, but like a cat, on and off. I do accept all this is quite upsetting for us at the least. She talks to trees, and the trees talk back to her, and give her information she couldn't have found anywhere else, like where exactly that tree came from initially. And it's true. Only Alenym knew where that tree came from, and she didn't tell anyone because she thought that was irrelevant. These are just examples of things that happen here, but there are many more. I could talk about this all day long giving examples. Little by little, we have realized that it is Yazhi who is doing this. And that is why we bring you here, because there has been a big change here that we need to explain, and not continue with a theater that is impossible to perpetuate just to appear to be normal. Since I see certain things congruent with what she says she does, I have no choice but to believe her. Because here we have seen that she jumps from one part of the ship to another. We have seen her lock herself in her room and not let anyone in, and then come out all wet and muddy and wrapped in a thorn bush. I told her to go into my bathroom and come out with something old. She locked herself in, and about 5 seconds later came out with muddy slippers and a small ancient Celtic statuette in her hands. The statuette was too big for her to hide it in her clothes, and I went through all of it first as well. And besides, where did she get the mud on her shoes? How could there be mud on a spaceship? In 5 seconds wouldn't be enough time to pull out a hidden statuette and get the same little shoes dirty to look like that. So yes, she moved in time and space. In other words, In the 5 seconds that I lost sight of Yazhi, she went somewhere, walked down a muddy street and looked for a statuette, and then came back here. The girl is capable of doing strange things. Another thing to stress whenever possible and everywhere is that Yazhi is not Swaruu. She's just a kid. I only wish I could see how young she is. Yes, she is Swaruu's consciousness in all of them, and I'm only starting to comprehend why and how. But as Yazhi herself has stated, she does not accept to hold and carry Swaruu's karma, guilts, and problems. She is as mysterious here in front of us as she is online. You see her little face and body, and you know that's just an avatar for her. Avatar she may change almost at will. She's funny and fresh as a kid would be, but she obviously as well carries a lot in her mind and a lot of memories, some not pleasant at all. You see her in her eyes, and you know that's not all she is. You cannot access what she is. She never says at all about anything. She always holds more. You'd go nuts with her, but you'd also love the little rascal and her crazy things. I have something to tell you, for whatever it's worth, with or without consequences. The girl gives evidence of being able to show herself as she wishes.
Oh, you can't say anything that shocks me anymore.
Well, Alenym got sick to her stomach because of it. This is all very extreme. Naishada seems to have accepted it better than Ale. We, for what's worth, we from Taygetan do not do that, nor do we see the purpose. But this is not under our control. We can't do those things ourselves. Here in 5D, everything is very much like there, fixed, quite normal. It is Yazhi who takes everything to extremes. The girl teleports. She goes through solid titanium walls, moves with bullet speed, fragments time, doubles herself at will, or even triples herself, and shows up at any age she wants. And she says she does it because she can. She seems to master it all and explain the how with total mastery. I just see the potential for mischief with that.
It's not just mischief, it's expanding the knowledge of what reality really is. It's stretching the boundaries, exploring the frontiers, and discovering there are no frontiers.
It's just that you're only reading me. On some level, it's just not of your world. I don't criticize you, on the contrary. But seeing it in front of you here, it moves everything in you and makes you doubt the nature of reality. She says you have to master your unconscious to make it all happen.
Well, here you could see how poor Aneeka was trying to handle the situation, and she was frightened with these abilities that Yazhi was displaying, and she was describing that a lot of people on the ship were kind of frightened of this, and to be honest, it surprised me. I spent I don't know how many conversations with Aneeka. This is what I showed was just like a small part of that, explaining to her, actually myself here from Earth, that the reality doesn't end with just what we believe reality is. And, we here are encouraged by them to stretch our minds, to be inspired by new ideas and flow with the new discoveries. And I was very surprised to see actually that many of them are very comfortable in their established realities already, and afraid of someone displaying abilities that go beyond what their understanding of reality is. I was calming Aneeka down, myself, here from Earth, telling her, use this opportunity to learn from this person, to learn about the ability of the mind. This is just showing us the potential, the consciousness. This is just fascinating. It's amazing. I myself was asking millions of questions of Yazhi and trying, to get knowledge from her and how she does what she does. But apparently, not everybody was seeing this the same way, and they were even avoiding Yazhi, which was making her quite sad, which you will see actually more of in the next video, in that part 2. So I was surprised, and it was like going between them back and forth. I was talking to Aneeka, and there were these councils, and shara and Alenym, and talking to guys as well, who, by the way, saw it differently. You will see in the next video. And then going to Yazhi and being like in between them. I was telling Yazhi what the Taygetans feel and why she should be more understanding towards them, and that they are slow in accepting that there is maybe more to their powers. And then I was telling Aneeka and the others to open their minds and be okay with that new angle of reality being shown to them. So it was very, very, very strange situation for me, because me from here, from Earth, a human person, supposedly 3D, was actually showing a bit more of an open mind about this whole topic, because I was not afraid in any way of Yazhi at all. I was seeing this as something super fascinating. But now, and I do admit this, that it is different though if it's just me talking to them and talking to Yazhi online and hearing about disabilities, and it probably would be different if I saw her in front of me going through the wall or something, or bending spoons and teleporting and stuff like that. So I understand that Aneeka was uneasy, and many of them were uneasy, because suddenly you were faced with this wow, and a new reality in front of you that you had to process and you had to digest. Like Aneeka said, this was making you question the very nature of reality, what is real, what is not, what is established. The same as I was telling Aneeka, the same what we are asking the humans on Earth to do as well. We are crushing their reality, right? Well, now Yazhi was crushing their reality. But apparently, as Yazhi will say here, she said that some of the Taygetan seems they were more comfortable in the seats of crushers of realities and not in the seats of those whose reality is being crushed. So this was a very, 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 very interesting dynamic in the situation there. So I'm going to leave you now with the council conversation. This is between Alenym, Queen Alenym, shara, her sister, also Aneeka is present, and then Robert and myself. Even though our comments, I cut them out a bit more, and you will see what they said. And the topic is basically about how to treat Yazhi with regards to, this little girl perhaps needing to be taken care of, needing to be educated. She was just 7, 8. Like, what do you do? She had no mom, and suddenly they had to somehow treat this child, and they didn't know how. So it is completely understandable that they had this dilemma, and you will see this in this segment of the video. Enjoy.
Another council. How to treat Yazhi. Present Alenym, shara, Aneeka, Robert, and myself.
Simple chat about something not so simple. Our intention is just to share what we see.
We still don't quite understand how she does what she does, but we have accepted her as she is today.
And yes, we have been concerned. From the aspect of guiding or educating a little girl, a Swaruu who used to be our adult friend and our guide. But the question is, how to educate such a being? If it is even necessary to educate her. However, if the answer is no, she must be allowed to be as she wishes to be, free. But then, she herself makes it clear to us that she does need to be guided or cared for as a child.
As Alice says, She does ask to be cared for as a child. But how do you guide and care for a child who teleports? How do you educate someone when they are beyond you? You're no adult authority figure for her.
I think she doesn't just do things out of mischief, but because she herself is experiencing or understanding her new abilities.
It is part of her nature to be constantly testing herself, to seek limits to her own capabilities.
Yes, the Swaroos have always been known for pushing themselves to the limit.
And yet, here each one must act according to their own role. Of course, there is a certain frustration and one tends to feel obsolete. However, everyone must be who they are.
And then you treat her like that, and it's not right either, because she knows more than you. So she leaves you with no idea what your role is with her.
Yes, as Aneeka says, the question for us is, what is our role with her?
As friends, I suppose.
But she asks for more, to be taken care of. That's why she climbed the tree. But how do you take care of her so that she doesn't climb if closing the doors to the green area doesn't do any good? It doesn't stop her.
I think it's just a matter of sitting her down and establishing certain rules, like, okay, you can try to go across the table with your hand to get food, but not when others are eating it. Something like that. That way she will see that she's allowed to experiment, but also that a little respect is required for the community where she lives, who have not yet fully understood these things.
Yes, she does this. She takes away or removes your food or dishes on the table without you noticing.
Yes. A community of people who don't walk through doors without opening them like she does.
It's just that there is something else that she deeply desires, and it's not to prove that she can do it all in spite of everyone. What she wants is to be able to share, to explain how she does it, and to tell us. You could too, if only you would ask me.
Exactly. It is like my wish here for humans to be free and to know more. She wants the same for you. Nothing she does is crazy. It is just not understood.
It just seems that she has understood how to manipulate matter and energy.
No, it is not crazy, just incomprehensible to us.
Only because we have not asked how thoroughly, Ale.
Yes, Aneeka. She explains everything with formulas so it doesn't seem freaky anymore.
Yes, for example, her super speed. She even has mathematical formulas to explain how she does it. Yes.
So, about your role with her, I think it is to let her be, but also let her see that you are there for her and her physical and emotional well-being. Talk to her, don't run away, don't speculate behind her back, it hurts her. And set some rules here and there. See if she listens.
But how do you educate a child whose existential purpose is not to limit herself? Is there any point in trying?
Also, if she is doing it now, it is because she is discovering it right now. Everything she is doing, she is experiencing it. She is like a child with a new toy. But sometimes she doesn't say much for fear of being labeled as self-centered or conceited. Let's see it from another point, her world. Her own reality is totally different from how the rest of us see it. She is able to stop time at will. She can watch a drop of water fall and see a prism being created with all the colors there. She sees how it lasts an eternity. But if at that moment she hears Aneeka calling her, she turns around and in an instant the drop has already fallen. That is the wonder of her world. Do you think she wants to leave that?
Nice, Shara, do you understand well how she does what she does?
She is an expert in matters of time. She modifies and molds it as she pleases.
Yes, I have realized that the basis for everything she does is temporal manipulation.
But she also handles densities, Aneeka.
And the densities are based on amount of data and oscillations per unit of time, Ale. Again, temporal manipulation.
Wow, okay.
About the food, Yazhi also told me that she just wanted to help refilling food, but nobody said thank you, and that you are just afraid of her, and she just wanted to relieve your stress.
We didn't know if apples were toxic or not, or what the consequences were of eating the same apple many times.
No negative consequences. She would never do that.
But they are the same. Literally, they are the same. After a few days, you start to recognize the apples, that they always have the same flaws and moles because they are the same apple over and over again.
She creates in her mind energetic images or photographic memories and then recreates them and fills a cupboard.
What if that fails and suddenly we're faced with severe malnutrition because cosmically, or who knows how, we have eaten only one apple and not many?
New recipe for losing weight by eating as much as you can, Aneeka, see the positive. She said she was doing it with the tractor beam on the ship. But I think she was being kind. Now we see that she's doing it with the mind without the ship.
Well, you ask humans to be open-minded and not go into cognitive dissonance, and we do the best we can. Now it is your turn to demonstrate the same openness of mind. The world does not end in the so-called 5D.
Yes, Gosha, that open-mindedness and not going into cognitive dissonance has now been reversed to us.
Keep learning.
Yes, that's why you should never sit down, haha.
Well, sitting is useful at mealtime. Eating standing is not very comfortable.
Okay, so this was the council talk. I think it was very interesting. There will be more of these in the next part of this series. I must tell you that I was a bit sad for Yazhi for quite a long time because Yazhi didn't feel comfortable on the ship for a while. And you'll see in the second part of the video what she actually did. She actually left the ship for a while. But I'm gonna leave that for the next video. So I felt sad because she was coming and sharing with me her sadness and how uncomfortable she felt because she was making the Taygetans uncomfortable, and she knew that. But at the same time, she wanted to be herself and she wanted to be totally free and be able to, go beyond what other people can do. She didn't want to be constrained. But at the same time, like in this council you could see, she also needed to be taken care of, and she was expressing that she wanted to be taken care of. As she told me, I remember what she needed was that they figure out a new way of treating her. She wanted to be treated as a child, but also as something else, and it was their job to figure out what to do and how to approach her. That's what she said. And apparently, even up till now, Athena told me recently, some Taygetans on the ship are having a bit of a trouble trying to, determine what to think of Yazhi and how to treat her, how to treat this child and no child at the same time. So now you will see the conversation with Yazhi, where she will share how she was refilling the food cabinets and all that. And you'll see some of her frustration here and what she felt. As you see here, this issue of food has been there for a while, and the maintenance of the ship also. And that was problematic for a while. Alenym was not accepting any new members for years. And Saska, the supply ship, was not coming that often. They had some scarcity of food, and that's why Yazhi was coming up with this idea of how to refill the food cabinets. So enjoy the conversation.
Conversation with Yazhi. I don't like the circus around me. And they don't ask if it's me doing those things. Like, I don't know, they are saying strange things happen here. Why the secrecy around me? They still don't ask you? We talked about this hundreds of times with Aneeka, about asking you. I told Aneeka that I already made you millions of questions. If I was there, I would make billions, not just sit there in the corner and wonder. Aneeka said she understands and that they will ask. But then she also said that when they ask, you give cryptic answers.
Cryptic? No. Maybe they are not understanding what I said.
Yes, and if they don't, they should ask again. It's not like you are not willing to answer.
Well, they are not asking, and I resent that. I don't like all this because we have enough problems, and all this only feeds skepticism, and this communication is fragile. And that is not fair, especially when I do my best to explain everything best I can. For example, food and water. They know I can manipulate time. I've been at it like forever. Why so surprised? I reprint it in the same location once in a while. I am not replicating food. I am only relocating the dates inside the pantry and the water tanks, among other things. I mean, it is even simple. So I resent the speculations. And I am using the damn tractor beam. For them, it shouldn't be spooky.
Yes, it surprises me they are surprised. I mean, we teach humans to expand their minds. We ourselves had to basically rewrite our whole reality, immersed in new, mind-crushing concepts every day.
Evidently, they are comfortably sitting in their reality crushers' seats, not in the ones being crushed. But this is even silly. No one ever thought of using the tractor beam from inside a ship to relocate a sector of the same ship to another date and splice it with the current one? It is well known to do that outside the ship. It is the same inside the ship. So I come along and do it, and suddenly it's magic? Like we're in the Middle Ages here now? I thought they would be happy about not having the food and water problem. It looks like they are not happy and prefer to be counting potatoes so they last until September.
But a question. Do you do it with the mind alone? How exactly?
See, you asked. They didn't ask.
Like I said, for me it's fascinating. I will always ask.
The only mind here is the mind-to-computer interface I use all the time. I take a reading of the pantry, frequency-based, like always. See it as in the matrix only numbers and values. After all, matter is like that. Then I let them eat whatever is there, and when the level goes down, I reprint the pantry, inside, as it was the day I took the reading. I do this using the tractor beam. The tractor beam can print the frequency numerical map onto any location. So they get spooked by something they do outside the ship. And the only difference here is that I'm doing it inside the ship. No difference.
Isn't it inserting all the temporal situation though too? Or does it limit to the pantry alone?
Yes, the pantry and the contents is a temporal situation. You insert that temporal situation into the present temporal situation. It is grafted into this reality.
The question is, how come this didn't occur to you earlier when you were all hungry?
It has. How do you think I had jumped so many timelines and survived up to now? Only the false promise that the food would be toxic would stop me or them. It's not toxic. It's the same food as ever. I am not printing or replicating food. I am relocating it in time. I have the print of a food pantry, and once in a while I reprint it, as it was months ago, full of fresh food. I know I am alien to the Taygetans, but I am not here to eat them, and I am not laying eggs in their air ducts of the ship. But all this is setting them off balance. But it's not my intention to set them off balance. I thought I was helping.
You are helping. And setting them off balance might be good, like it was for us. You think me and Robert were not set off balance? I am still spinning since the day we met, but I go with it. It gets overwhelming at times, but it's the only way to expand. If you don't move and grow and expand, you get stagnant and you just die.
To die is already a change, a statement to move on and not stagnate, an intention towards growth.
Yes. Another question Aneeka had was about you getting apparently younger. Is that true?
That is so. I am comfortable younger. They know that. I cannot be fully grown now. I cause too many conflicts.
But I mean, are you getting younger and younger even now within this body?
Not exactly. I don't age. I don't grow like they do. I'm sorry, this may be the spooky part I accept may freak them out. But why? I am not like I once was incarnations ago. Why and how? Because I manipulate time. Again, I have had a very long time to know how it works. Why so surprising? I've been studying time for a very long time. It has some results on me.
But you are not biologically getting younger then. In other words, there is no worry here that one day you will get to be 2 years old and not able to talk?
I have no use in being a baby. I don't like anyone swiping my behind. As I said above, if I am an expert on something, it is time. So why see me so strangely? I hold time in my hand. I am not under its control. I control my time. And others could as well, if they paid a little more attention instead of freaking out over the pantry.
A question. Let's see how I can benefit from this power of yours. Could you, for example, become one with my mind and show me something how you see it? Can you alter my perception to see some of your reality, to be able to experience something from your perspective?
Have you ever thought about the possibility of that having happened already? And that being the reason why you can understand me, sometimes even better than others here? Why do you think you are up there in Finland, free and happy, and not dwelling and lamenting yourself locked up in a flat in Spain? It is always you, so I take no credit. You must always be free. But don't you think the moving to Finland timing was too perfectly right?
Wow, thank you then. Yes, it was. But then, what am I then without that influence from you? Do I even exist as a soul? Do I have my own understanding?
We are all one. That's how inspiration works. The very word says it all. Inspiration. From in spiritu, or the whispers of spirits or guides. Meaning that was not me, but you under your own right. From here, I may see it differently, but what matters is how you see it. Without wanting to influence you, I see it like or as if I were guiding your steps. But for all that matters, it is always you doing things from there, as I am most definitely not there. You are. But, in general, in influencing, it is a feeling you convey to a person, an idea of rightness, the correct way to go, a needle pointing north to Finland as the correct path to follow in this moment of your life, removed as much as possible from harm's way.
Wow. What's the next step, Yazhi, then? What's next influence, so to speak?
Finland may not be up north enough. Even Svalbard, where you went, may not have been north enough. Just saying.
Okay, understood.
I must go now. Thank you for hearing me.
Of course, and thanks to you. Your Taygetan friends love you. They will figure it out.
I don't want them to fear me. It's not sorcery. It's temporal manipulation. All of it. How I look, the pantry, the serviced engines. All is manipulating time.
Well, my friends, this is all for this video. There will be more. Stay tuned because there's going to be a development of some of these situations. How did Yazhi feel later on? Did the situation improve? What did actually Yazhi do after she started to feel a bit more uncomfortable? She left somewhere, but where did she go and why there? And what did the men think? Yes, so we will hear from Raguel and from Dorcalel. These are previous conversations, and they will share what they felt about Yazhi. Did she scare them? Did she not? Etc. Did she continue to refill the food pantries? For example, why isn't she doing it now? I will tell you right now, she's not doing it anymore, and that's going to be explained a little bit more in the future videos, recent videos, recent conversations with Yazhi, where she will explain why she doesn't do that anymore. So stay tuned, because much more about Yazhi to come, which I think is a very, very fascinating subject, because Yazhi herself is a very fascinating, little and grand person. Thank you, and now a little surprise at the end. This is a song composed by one of the followers, friends of this community, Cosmic Agency, about Yazhi. So enjoy! Bye-bye.
She's the smallest and the youngest, with the biggest, most beautiful eyes. She may look like just a child, but within her dwells a catcher, expansive and wise. She loves to play as all children do, while wandering the astral alone, battling, scaring the scariest of them, leaving the astral to her liking and tone. How can it be that such a sweet little girl can have such power and might? So fragile looking, so small, so tender, but don't be fooled, she can fight. Powerful Sophia, tender loving Sia, so mysterious and full of life. She fights alone, showing no fear, her goodwill remains steadfast and right. Powerful Sophia, tender loving Sia, so mysterious and full of life. She fights alone, showing no fear, her goodwill remains steadfast and right. Slipping and sliding, bumps and bruises, she steals cookies and can change shapes. Walking through walls, but that's not all. Like a child, she's prone to cuts and scrapes. But beyond that facade is truly a power to reckon with, to beckon with. She's majestic, divine, complete. She is true life and loved, not a myth. Powerful Sophia, tender loving Sia, so mysterious and